guys, welcome to the Homestead. So today we have Taylor Kenney back from ITM Trading, and this is one of the, I was thinking there is so much going on right now. We've got to get her back on the channel, but I wanted to just go ahead and quick give her an introduction, and then we're going to dive right into the news of what's going on in Russia right now. Taylor?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. I am Taylor Kenney with ITM Trading. I talk all things economy, gold, but my background is actually in emergency preparedness, which is what led me to financial preparedness. So very excited to be here today and to get into, like you said, a lot of things because there's much going on and much to talk about.
Yeah, and so we have a limited amount of time to talk about all this, and I'm like, man, how are we going to fit it all in? So first off, right off the bat, you know, I come to this topic with the homestead and preparedness-minded, you know, viewpoint, and it's just what do regular folks do? And for the most part, most of the people who watch my channel, we're all about, okay, the dollar's going to crap. We know that, but how do I try to mitigate that disaster with my own lifestyle? And that's, you know, going and growing your own food and raising animals and things like that. But there's a number of us out there who are like, okay, I want to do more than that. And when it comes to our, you know, the physical money that we have now, how do I safeguard that? Because many of us get into homesteading with the idea of building a legacy for our children and having something we can pass down to them. Right? So, that's why we pay attention to this financial news that happens. And so BRICS right now, what's going on? They're making decisions that are absolutely going to affect all of us.
Definitely. So right now, this week happening is the BRICS Summit in Russia. Essentially, it's a group of about 30 world leaders coming together, laser focused on de-dollarization, essentially finding ways to chip away at the dollar's strength, which, like you said, impacts all of us because as the dollar is used less and less, it has less and less value. So any of us who have savings, any of us who have, I mean, the cash in your wallet, it's just going to be worth less. It's no longer just about the American government overprinting, which we know that they love to do and are going to continue to do. But now there's threats internationally chipping away at the dollar as well.
Everyone's seeing the value of the dollar over the last few years go down. It's not slowing. It's continuing to happen. But I'm watching some of the news. Just before I hopped on the video with you, and I'm going to get this out tonight, so it's going to go live tonight. So it's going to maintain that, you know, all the news that's happening right now. But I just looked at the headlines, and a couple of things happened. Putin called the dollar an enemy. Okay, it's like it's being used as a weapon, he says, and so that is their laser focus, just like you said. And then also they got China and the Xi, whatever his name is, and the Prime Minister of India on the same stage with Putin, and that was historic because these people have not worked and played well with each other over the years. But in terms of trying to establish a new payment system, they're on the same stage.
Correct. And, you know, something that we love to hear from the media here in the U.S. is that BRICS is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. These countries will never really get along. But what they are missing is when there is a greater purpose at stake. These countries are setting aside their differences and they are coming together with one common goal, which is they feel like they haven't had a seat at the table. They feel like the U.S. has been a bully on the international stage. And regardless of how you feel about the U.S.'s policies and what we've done with sanctions, Putin is correct that we have weaponized the dollar. And countries are saying, no more. We're going to come up with our own financial system that is not reliant on the dollar.
Yeah, so let's talk about this new payment system. You said in a video a couple days ago or a day ago, it was an announcement on outside money. What does that mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people are calling this the Bretton Woods 3. Now, there's a lot of speculation. They did roll out a BRICS Pay system.
It was like a card, wasn't it?
Yeah, new cards. Those could be live in BRICS countries very quickly. We know that they work. They do not rely on the dollar or any Western technology. But this is really only phase one. What I want people to understand is that they are moving more towards commodities. So this could be oil, grain, gold. Essentially, we know that the financial system we have that's based on the dollar has a limited amount of time. It cannot go on the way it will forever, which is why these countries are stocking up on gold, because they want to come up with new ways, new systems that don't rely on the dollar.
It's outside of the system that's,
Exactly.
yeah, you can't,
Exactly.
yeah. I saw the quote that you put on it was a video again the other day. Russian finance minister says it is necessary to form new conditions or even new institutions similar to the Bretton Woods institutions, but within the framework of our community, within the framework of BRICS. And so it's like they want to create a sandbox that not only can they regulate and run, but they can keep people out of or invite people in.
Absolutely. And when we talk about BRICS too, when we talk about these countries, they have half of the world's population. They have the majority of land mass. Now, traditionally, the United States has aligned itself with countries that have been holding the positions of power. But when we look at the future, who has the resources? It's these BRICS countries. So if there is a future where we are kept out of the sandbox, like you said, and they are just trading with their own currencies or a gold-backed currency or whatever that future looks like, we are going to be left behind so quickly. And again, that's where that really comes into concern for the dollar losing its value rapidly.
So for like normal Joe Schmoes like myself, I've enjoyed all of the prosperity and opportunity that I've had in this country because of the dollarizations, the dollar's power around the world and how it's been used around the world. I've traveled around the world. I lived overseas. I lived in other countries, and I've been to other countries, and even spoken there for events and things like that. And it's like no matter where I went, I could take my dollars, and they were recognized, and they could be used, and they could be taken. And with this, people, I think, have a hard time getting under their brain that this could end, that could end. That you might go to a country that you have been to before, or maybe your parents have been to, and they're going to be like, you know what, your dollar's not good here anymore. I'd rather you converted it to this before we used it.
Absolutely. I mean, for anyone out there, just picture going to, let's say, like an arcade, and you get a token, and that token isn't good anywhere other than that arcade under that building that you're in. You can't take that and go somewhere else and try and use it.
Right.
That could be the future of the dollar. You try and go somewhere, use your dollar, it's not accepted anymore. It's worthless. It's worth less than the piece of paper, right, that it's printed on. That is the future that we're heading towards. And it's a scary thing for a lot of us because it directly impacts all of our savings, our retirement, our future, and the ability to progress or, like you said, leave a legacy for our families.
Right. Yeah, I just did a video on some of the absolute insanity that's happening with registration when it comes to things that are affecting homesteaders, like chicken registration. We just saw in the United Kingdom forced registration for anyone who owns a chicken. What's happened recently, I'm getting a number of people in my inbox saying that the county tax assessors where they live are going out and saying, hey, listen, if your chicken lays an egg, that is now taxable income. You've just earned an income with that egg, and we want the money for it. And they don't. Do people realize that the reason why these tax assessors and these governments are becoming so much more restrictive is because the dollar is losing power, and the dollars that they once had aren't going as far as they used to, and so they're trying to get more and more and more. And this is like a never-ending, unstoppable cycle.
Absolutely. It's all comes down to control. And I don't need to tell you this, and I'm sure most of the viewers understand that as well. It all comes down to control and power. And as the dollar is losing its value, they feel it happening. And that's why they don't want people going outside of the system at all in any way, whether it's people homesteading, whether it's people doing their own thing, growing their own thing, whatever it might be, or whether it's people protecting their wealth and gold because they feel like they can't control it. And that's really the bottom line. And that's why we need to band together and make sure that we are protecting ourselves.
Yeah, I tell people stand up and say no. And you've got to be able to stand up. But the reason why they're coming for those eggs or anything else that they deem taxable is because the dollars that we have are just becoming more and more worthless. And that's your clue to take steps now to figure out what you're going to be doing for this. There was something else because all the stuff going on and what else is what's happening in BRICS? Is there anything else? I saw Ethiopia, the last meeting, they invited Ethiopia to come in. And it was because supposedly Ethiopia has some pretty high gold reserves in the ground still, that there's lots of mining potential there. And so they're like, oh yeah, you have a lot of gold. You can come on in,
Oh, yeah. Well, right now, I think BRICS has about 20% of the world's gold in their central banks. That number is only set to grow. I think by the end of this week, by tomorrow, we might find out some new members. I know another thing that's big that's happening are a lot of these side conversations that are happening there right now with oil producing countries. So we have
UAE,
Iran.
right?
Yeah, the UAE. We have all of these countries having conversations with whether it's Putin or Xi Jinping, Russia and China. What this means for the United States is that if oil were priced in dollars other or in currencies other than the dollar, such as the yen or a gold-backed currency that BRICS creates, whatever that might look like, we would see the dollar decline even faster because right now so much of the dollar's demand globally
is oil
because it's priced in oil. So that is escalating as we speak too.
So let's just speculate here for a second. How likely do you see Saudi Arabia joining this time, if at all?
So Saudi Arabia is a funny one. They were technically invited last year to be a member and they declined. I think right now they're kind of playing both sides, right?
Right. They're scared.
They're absolutely benefiting from the U.S. with military, but they sent representatives to this year's summit, and there are a lot of discussions of backroom talks being had. I think that they are just biding their time, and they might let these other countries that aren't aligned with the United States, such as Iran, go ahead and make the first move and then follow suit. So I think it's really only a matter of time.
So do you think the UAE will be, had they officially been invited or are they accepted?
They are a member as it stands today.
Okay.
So they were invited last year, and they are now one of the new members. So this is the first time they've had the full force of BRICS meeting together in over a year.
Okay. Shanghai Gold Exchange, Dubai. We're watching almost record silver right now going on. And, I've got these two coins. So I got these two quarters, and one is not like the other. Even though they look very much the same, one is not like the other. One is silver, one is not. And I have always watched these guys, these talking heads on these channels, these financial channels, and even some of the ones that have been hosted on ITM. And they'll tell people like, well, we don't know what the price of gold is, or they'll speculate what the cost of gold or silver will be in the years to come or months to come. And my argument has always been, it's going to be when the COMEX is destroyed. And by destroyed, I mean like has competition. Right. When there's competition. Well, now you've got Shanghai Gold Exchange and you've got Dubai that's trading gold, and their gold trading is increasing. So it's not just the COMEX or the LBMA who can set gold prices anymore. It's actually these other exchanges that are setting gold prices. And that's got to be putting pressure on COMEX, because I am convinced that they're lying. I'm convinced that they're flubbing the numbers, that they're dropping these contracts down on the exchange and the futures market at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., to drop the price down to keep it. But once you have this kind of pressure coming in, that doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people would agree that prices are suppressed. I think ultimately, again, when we look at what's going on, it's clear there are multiple factors at play. We have what you're talking about. We have geopolitical unrest, we have election uncertainty, we have the declining value of the dollar. There are so many reasons, and this is long overdue. And I'm ready to see the prices go to where they should be. I think everyone is. Or
just return to where they should be historically, the historical buying power of these metals.
What was that? Say that one more time.
The historical buying power of these metals. I don't really care what the price is. The price doesn't matter to me so much. It's the going back to the historical buying power of what a dime's worth of silver would get you, or an ounce of gold would get you, or a sovereign of gold would get you. That's gone today. It's gone.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, I think, like you said, the system will correct itself. And it's not even, like you said, so much about prices, but in terms of how we'd be using this. Let's say the system collapses. Let's say that, whatever happens in the future, we know that things aren't looking great. So whatever comes next, if you own silver and gold, you will be able to use it in real life when the dollar is worth the kindling to light your fire. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and there's people out there who will say, well, you can't eat gold and silver. And I've made the point, yeah, you can, because there's never been a time throughout all of recorded human history where people have said, no, I don't want your gold and silver. That's never happened in an economy or market bartering. Historically, that's never happened. So I don't think you ever have to worry about that happening in the future. Anyway, some of my more astute audience listeners who have a faith in the Bible, and I'm one of those people who will say, well, they'll throw their gold and silver in the streets, and they're quoting actual Judgment Day. Well, at that point, it doesn't matter anymore anyway. it's Judgment Day. The world's ending, literally. But until then, I'm still going to have bills to pay. I still got mouths to feed, and I'm going to need things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, something I think too, for maybe people who aren't there yet, is the way I think about it is when I first started getting into financial preparedness, it was just an evolution of my preparedness, right? Like I started with one thing, and as I started to grow and grow, it's just like a lot of people, they don't start out maybe with an entire ready to go homestead. And anyone who's doing this also knows the work never ends.
Yeah, it never ends.
Stops, right?
You always have a list of things to do.
It's a natural evolution, and it's just another stepping stone and piece of the puzzle. It's another redundancy. It's another way to protect yourself, and it all plays a role.
Yeah, I'm gonna die on the hill that I think that the COMEX is absolutely manipulating these things, and I think that they drop contracts on the market to drop the price, and I think some of these exchanges. Did you hear in the news that the Texas is now developing its own stock market?
No, I actually haven't heard
yes.
that. I'd love to hear
so
more about
if
that.
you can Google this, and their first trade should start by 2025. And they're saying there's lots of reasons why they say they're coming out with this, but the ultimate bottom line reason is that people are losing faith in the current system. And so now Texas is coming out with its own stock exchange, and where they will trade commodities like gold and silver.
Interesting.
So it's just another exchange where, in my opinion, will be putting pressure on the ones that have been manipulating this for so long. Texas also, by the way, has the only state in the country, and I don't live in Texas, but it's the only state in the country that has its own state-run, agency-run gold vaulting system. So it's like there is no other state that has that.
Yeah,
I find that fascinating. Yeah. So
that is fascinating.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I love to hear that, because I think there's not enough competition in general. And I mean, as far as the stock market goes, right now I've seen, right? We all know stock market is, if you look at the chart right now, it's like this, right?
Yeah,
straight up.
Yeah.
Gold, silver going up. Both can't be true.
Yeah.
Which one of these is inflated?
Yeah.
Which one of these is suppressed and which one is inflated?
Right.
I think we both know.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to BRICS, what else do we need to learn about this stuff going on right now? Is there anything else that's going to happen? When's the next one after this is over? It's yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes. So Putin is expected to deliver closing remarks at the end of tomorrow. So we're definitely going to look out for that. Like I said, we could see new members. We could see a further announcement on the payment system. And last year when the BRICS summit happened, there was a lot that kind of trickled out over the following 2 weeks as we saw more agreements that were made and more kind of concrete information. But I think the big thing we're looking out for are who are the new members, because that's going to tell us, the amount of gold they're having. Maybe like Turkey has applied. They are a NATO member. So who's jumping ship? Who was previously aligned with the U.S. and now is moving over, right? As momentum and pressure builds with BRICS, we're just going to continue to see the dollar weaken. And I think something not enough people are talking about is, what does that mean for our government? How desperate are they going to get, right? Going back to the eggs, what's going to happen as they continue to lose control and power and wealth? What are they going to do next? That's what keeps me up at night.
Well, how much of this Saudi Arabia decision do you think is hinged on the election? So Saudi Arabia is looking at how the U.S. is going, and they're like playing both sides, like you said. You have one candidate who might be a strong or a weaker candidate when it comes to everything, and then there's another one who might be a little bit more pro-USA, pro-dollar. Obviously, that's Trump. Sure. Do you think Saudi Arabia is waiting to see what happens with the election before doing anything crazy?
Yeah, I think that these people are all trying to squeeze as much juice out as they can. So as long as they can get power, wealth, and control out of whatever is left in the system, they're going to do it. As long as it benefits Saudi Arabia to continue to get support from the U.S., they're going to do it. But if they can also over here have other oil-producing countries start to kind of move away, because they might not be getting the best deal from pricing everything in USD, right? That might not benefit them. You know who that benefits? The United States. I think a lot of these countries are realizing for far too long they've been players in a game that it's not their rules. So I think, again, time is limited. I don't know how much the election is going to impact it. I'm sure it will. But I think, again, everyone's kind of in that waiting and see pattern right now.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen. And okay, well, I know, I'm too. I tell people, hey, listen, I'm just watching the show, and I'm enjoying the show. But
see what happens on the next episode.
I tell people, get out of the dollar because that's your future right there. It's
100%.
$100 trillion bill. It's just inflation, hyperinflation. People who come to me, and there's a lot of patrons and other people who come to me, and they say, listen, Zach, I do have some wealth. And I want to be able to safeguard that. And I'd say, hey, listen, call my friends at ITM Trading. They'll be able to sit down with you. It's free. And it's a consultation, and they'll give you all your options, and a lot of it's education too. So you're going through just, okay, what are my options? How can I safeguard this, and get all your questions answered?
Yeah, absolutely. And even people who might feel right now like they have a plan in place, I still recommend call. Talk to one of our analysts, because a lot of it is, again, about that strategy, right? Everything has its place, whether it's silver or gold or the types of silver or gold that you have. They're all going to play a different role depending on what your concerns are and your goals are. And it's really just about, again, protecting yourself so that you can maintain your standard of living and set yourself up for the other side, whether that's generational wealth or creating opportunity, whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, anyone who thought 4 years ago, maybe I should wait and see what happens, and kept money in their savings account, we know you lost 25% of it right off the bat. And that's what this is about, is making sure that you're protected.
Right. Full disclosure, yeah, I have a partnership with ITM Trading, and I do like their products, and I like the fact that they put physical gold and silver in the hands of people who are trying to preserve wealth and build a legacy. There's a lot of companies that approach me on YouTube to try to sell their products, and most of them I tell them to kick rocks because I'm not interested in the stuff that they're selling. It has no bearing on my audience or their interest either. I'm not kidding. I get people who want to sell me vaping stuff, and oh my goodness, it's crazy. Junk food, all kinds of stuff. These things, I can't stand these things. I'm like, why would you buy these things when you can just buy smaller denominated silver? That's better for barter anyway, in my opinion. And so I like a lot of the stuff that you guys push and talk about, and that's why I see it's valuable, and that's why I tell my audience, hey, listen, if you're in that spot, go call them up, and they'll schedule something and help you out.
Yeah, well, absolutely. We appreciate you spreading the good word, and it's time for all of us to stick together and make sure that we're aware of what's going on. So, there's a lot happening, and a lot that they don't want us to pay attention to.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming back, and we'll definitely have you back again at some point when there's a lot more news to talk about. But this BRICS stuff, man, what an amazing time to be alive, and we'll just keep watching it. And thanks for all the content you produce on your channel. I really enjoy watching you and all the other creators over at ITM Trading as well.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys.
You so much.
All right, guys. Hey, check us out. If you can find our best-selling shirt, Stupid You Hurt. If we had more hurt in this world, we'd have an awful, awful lot less stupid. I'll see you next time in the Homestead. Bye. In the spring of 2024, Saudi Arabia ended the long-held practice of requiring its oil to be sold in U.S. currency. And recently, governments around the world have been repatriating their physical gold from Western banks, opting instead to hold that gold within their own borders. China, meanwhile, continues to set records in terms of stockpiling its physical gold reserves, while at the same time dumping billions in U.S. treasuries. All these instances can otherwise be called indicators. Indications that the world is readying itself to participate in trade that does not involve the United States or the dollar. And at home, our banks are showing signs of a deflationary collapse, in which case the FDIC does not have a fraction of the funds on hand to ensure you can get your money should your bank fail. On the other hand, they keep telling us inflation is getting under control, but for some reason, the prices we pay day to day keep going up and products we pay for keep getting smaller. I've put a link in the description below this video that will allow you to start the process to convert money you may have already saved into precious metals that you yourself can hold. You hold it, you own it. Throughout history, precious metals have always been accepted for goods and services, even in the most chaotic of economies and war-torn countries, dating all the way back to when Alexander the Great ruled the known world. Guys, we're over $35 trillion in debt. If you're concerned, I don't blame you. ITM Trading has a well-documented history of helping people put their money into physical metals that you hold. Again, if you hold it, you own it. Hit that link below and see how ITM Trading can help you get the ball rolling towards financial sustainability. The consultation is free and there's no pressure. They will show you your options based on your concerns and goals you have for the future. By doing this, you're safeguarding wealth just like people have done successfully for literally thousands of years. You are now part of that history. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. Oh wait.